all of you for coming. It means so much to me and my family that you're all here to celebrate Norma Jean Nixon Pagano, aka my mom's life. We are here to tell stories about her amazing life. We're here to give you an idea of who she was, as you know her from the last 10 years when she moved to New York. However, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with a song that my mom loved so much. Marty and Isaac would play it for her all the time. And Marty will give that introduction.
Yeah. This is called There'll Never Be Another You. There may be many other nights like this. I'll be standing there with someone new. There will be other songs to sing, another fall, another spring, but there will never be another you. There will be other lips that I may kiss. They won't thrill me like yours used to do. Oh, I may dream a million dreams. How can they come true if there will never ever be another you? Other lips that I may kiss, they won't thrill me like yours used to do. Oh, I may dream a million dreams, but how can they come true if there will never ever be, there will never ever be, there will never ever be another.
Call up to the stage my second oldest brother, Pat. Many of you know Pat. And Pat and I are going to be giving our reminiscences and our overview of our mom's life growing up as children of Norma Jean Nixon Pagano. Mama.
My mom. Yeah, but, you know, since I'm the older one, I know more stories than this one, so
my memory's a lot better, listen to me.
I think you got a point there. So, but we're siblings, and there's just a teeny bit of sibling rivalry. You might get to experience it today. So Mom, but we can agree on one thing.
What's that?
Mom was born in Laurelville, Iowa.
That's true, 1929.
1929, in a small town, 500 people. Could you imagine a town of only 500 people?
Yeah,
I'm right, you're wrong. 500 people, and she grew up there on a farm.
She did not grow up on a farm.
Her dad was a farmer.
She grew up in the town, but she came from a farming community and a farming family. But she grew up in town, across the street from the Catholic Church. Remember that?
But you could look across the other street and you could see a farm.
Okay. So she grew up in
That's close.
Anyway, okay, so
that's where she grew up. And she lived catty-corner to the Catholic Church too, which was a really important part of her life. The Catholic Church, she attended Mass
every day.
Sundays,
Every
day, according to the accurate one over here. And that was a lot of her life. And the small townness, you know, you always help others whenever they need help. And that was sort of the thing that she instilled in all of us.
And she lived at a time, I mean, there is a reason why they are considered the greatest generation, because they were the greatest generation. She lived through the Great Depression and World War II. And then graduated from high school?
In 1946, she graduated from high school. And the whole family moved to Phoenix, Arizona. What a change from a town of 500 people, she thought she went to the biggest metropolis in the world. It was Phoenix, Arizona. I don't even know how many people there were, but more than
500 for sure.
And went to college.
She did.
We almost forgot she went to college.
Phoenix Community College. Can you hear him?
No, stand close.
Use the mic.
Yeah.
You tell him, Ralph. Use the mic, Pat.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Phoenix
So
Community College.
College.
Not Phoenix, the online school, but this was a community college in Phoenix, and that's where she met Dad at
Love of her life.
at the Newman Center. They met at the Newman Center, which is
They did
a
not meet at the
Catholic
Newman.
group.
No, they did not meet at the Newman Center. They met in class because her last name was N and his was P, and she sat in front of him. And she convinced him to go to the Newman Center.
So like I said, they met at the Newman Center.
Well,
So-
they had three kids in Arizona. Our oldest brother Mike, Pat, and then me, the favorite daughter. Your chance, but you missed it.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, the favorite daughter. I'm supposed to roll my eyes.
Ralph said that.
Okay, sorry, Ralph.
Okay, all right. In the late 50s, Dad got an opportunity to do his PhD at Penn State University, which returned him to Pennsylvania, where he actually grew up. He'd grown up in Pittsburgh. And then got a job at Slippery Rock State College.
Slippery Rock State College. Population of that town was, at that time, 1,500 people. She's moving up in the world, huh? 1,500 people, and not only that.
Another 1,500 when the college students were in.
Wow, doubled the size of the town.
And that's where we grew up. We grew up in Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania, where child number 4 was born, our younger brother Dan, and my mother eventually became a 6th grade social studies teacher. I think that I have to do this, okay. So let's talk about what it was like growing up with Mom in Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania in the 60s. Did I just date myself? I would say that, there was no such thing as a helicopter parent back there, but I would describe her and my dad as kind of free-range parents. We came home from school and went to, he's gonna say something, and we'd go outside, we'd just play in the neighbor's yard, we'd go hike out into the woods, we'd go to Hurricane Hill, and just free range, and people would come into our house, the door was always unlocked, they wouldn't even knock, people would just come in and going, and my mother loved that. She loved having people always just coming into the house. She would say, it's Grand Central Station, Grand Central Station, and as an 8-year-old I had no idea what she was talking about. Is that what?
But then, free range chickens.
Chickens, that was a...
Some people call that benign neglect, but we don't want to go there.
Did everybody hear that? I don't think that was clear. He said benign neglect.
Enunciate. So, but do you remember, though?
Step forward.
Do you remember, though, Joe, that whenever I was 6 and you were 4, and Mom, continuing with her connection to the Catholic Church, would go Saturdays and clean the church, and then get it ready for the Sunday service, and she would do this every Saturday. And she went to Saturday to clean the church and took the older brother Mike with her, and they were off and left me and my little sister behind at home.
Alone.
And then all of a sudden my sister started crying and crying. I want to see my mom. I want to see my mom. And my mom taught us that when people have need, you have to help them. And so I said, okay, we'll start walking towards the church. And maybe she'll be on her way back by the time we get to the corner, because we're not allowed to cross the street. So we started out,
Sheila knows the block.
So we started out and we got to that first
the first corner, and we're getting ready to go across. And it's like, look both ways. That's what they taught us before we crossed the street. And then we went across the street, got to the other side. And it's like, wow, we made it. We made it. Okay, you're still crying. Why are you still crying? Mom's not, she didn't come by yet. So maybe if we go to the next corner, she'll be coming by then. So we walked to the next corner, and we stepped across that one with a lot more confidence by that time. Stepped across that street and said, okay, Mom's still not here. Okay, one more block and it's Main Street. So Main Street in a one traffic light town has 2 lanes of cars, one going one way and one the other. And we get down to the edge of it, and I said, and Mary Jo and I we're getting there, we're on the corner, and we're just about ready to cross, and I'm looking both ways, and everything's good, and then we go to take a step, and Mrs. Cornish comes out of her house and says, are you kids supposed to be here? Where are your parents? You need to come in the house with me. And I said, we're going to the church because that's where Mom is cleaning the church, and we need to see my Mom. And she said, wait here and I'll get your Mom for you. So eventually she got hold of Mom. Mom came up and came to us.
And took us home.
And then what happened?
They had no child services back then, by the way.
And
then
every Saturday after then,
we had to go help clean the church.
So that was one of the stories. That's a story about Slippery Rock.
Keep talking into this thing.
that was a story about Slippery Rock. That's what that community was like. It was great. It was great. So just to tell another story, and unfortunately, it's all about me. Jump forward 10 years. So now I'm 16 years old. I'm a teenager, and I'm in this little town of Slippery Rock on a Saturday night. And what does a teenager do in a little town? They have a bowling alley. I don't want to go bowling. But you know, the guys that had cars, boy, we could get in the car, we could drive around town, blasting the music, go out in the country and do whatever we wanted. We could get away. So one Saturday we went out, we're driving, and then before you know it, it's 3 a.m. and we're out of gas. And one of the guys says, Pat, it's your turn to call your Mom. So I called Mom, and Mom came, and she picked us up, took us home, and I think, oh man, I am scared. My Mom has always been the protector of us, but I don't think she can protect me from my dad. My dad is going to be so mad when he finds out, because he slept through the phone call that I made. Nothing was going to wake him up. So she took us home, and I woke up in the morning, and not a word was said. I'm thinking, my Mom didn't tell my dad. Wow, she's protecting me from, my dad getting really mad at me. And then a little while later, I realized, she was protecting my dad from realizing his number 2 son was starting to head down the wrong road in life. And that was how it ended, and it was silent from then.
No words, nothing.
Nothing was ever said, well, until 40 years later. 40 years later.
40.
I took Mom to a store, and we were driving back, and I'm driving along, and I'm making the turn to go back into Slippery Rock off of Route 422, Sheila, from Newcastle. And making the turn, and Mom says, Pat, you see that corner that we're turning around? I said, yeah. She says, that's where I picked you up at 3 a.m. that one night 40 years ago. That's my story.
That's your story.
So that was a little.
So that's a little bit of our life growing up in Slippery Rock, Pennsylvania. And even though we were raised there, and that's really where, you know, most of her life took place, her heart was always in the Southwest.
And speaking of which, you see my bowler tie? That's why my bowler tie. Yeah, that's because Mom loved the Southwest. You'll see a few other people wearing some.
Jane has on her squash.
Stuff on. She
loves
loves the Southwest.
She loved the Southwest, and we have a little table of mementos over there, the De Grazia plates. She loved that artist De Grazia, you know, she loved the Southwest. She loved everything about the Southwest. And I once asked her, I said, you know, you came from Iowa, or the green fields and this, why did you like the Southwest so much? And she said, the big sky. I loved the big sky. And then you know, I realized that she also loved the desert. She loved the desert. She loved the flowers of the desert. She loved the orange blossoms. And so every opportunity, we would go to Arizona, mostly in the summer, and then they retired there in the winter months for about 25 years. Gotta check my notes, what's next? She not only loved the Southwest United States, she loved Mexico. Absolutely had a feeling for Mexico. She loved Mexican culture, Mexican food, and she always bragged that when we lived in Yuma, Arizona, that you could see the Mexican border from our backyard. In fact, sometimes, she tells the story that she would bring me across the border in a little basket, and sometimes they weren't sure that was her baby coming back, because I had very black hair then. She really loved everything Mexican, and she would haul Mexican food back all the way back to the East Coast, because back then there were no Mexican restaurants in the East Coast. So she'd bring the tacos back, and we ate Mexican food when we were growing up, and that was kind of unusual because there just weren't the Mexican food back here at that point. When she was teaching 6th grade, she had a unit on Mexico. She taught social studies, and she did a unit on Mexico. She was always really excited about doing it and really nervous about doing it, because she would prepare food, and she'd wear the clothing, and she would introduce these 6th graders to the culture of Mexico. And it was just a really highlight of her teaching years. So imagine in 1973 when her brother says, I'm going to spend a year on sabbatical in Mexico City, and I'd like to invite you and your family to come down in the summer. And she was just thrilled that we were going to be able to go to Mexico. But being on a teacher's salary, we couldn't fly, so we drove from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Mexico City. It took us about 2 weeks. I think it took us 2 days to get through Texas. And I was a teenager and not particularly happy, spending my summer with my little brother and little cousins, going to Mexico instead of hanging out with my friends. But in the end, I was always really grateful that we had that time in Mexico where we went all around and saw all the, all the sights, and I still have really strong memories from that. Anything Latin American, Mexican, Spanish. You know, my mother, my oldest brother went to Argentina as an exchange student, and her brother was in the Peace Corps in Venezuela, so she always had that connection. And she absolutely loved to hear Marty sing his songs in Spanish. So I'd like to bring up Marty and Isaac. They're going to sing Yolanda.
Te que sea contigo. Mi soledad se siente acompañada. Por eso sé que necesito tu mano, eternamente tu mano. Cuando te vi, sabía que era cierto. Este temor de hallarme descubierto. Tú me desnudas con 7 razones. Me abras el pecho siempre que me colmas de amores, eternamente de amores. Si alguna vez me siento derrotado, renuncio a ver el sol cada mañana, rezando el credo que me has enseñado. Miro tu cara y digo en la ventana: Yolanda, Yolanda, eternamente Yolanda, Yolanda, eternamente Yolanda, eternamente Yolanda.
So in 2016, Mom came to stay with us in New York City. She was pretty lonely there in Slippery Rock, and our daughter was going off to college, so we had an extra bedroom. She came to live with us, and in true mom form, she opened her arms to everybody she met, and that included the whole 299 Riverside Drive contingent over there. Absolutely loved all of you, and particularly loved going to happy hour on Fridays. That was the highlight of her week. She would count the days to get to happy hour. And I would like to invite one of her close friends from the building, Anne O'Loughlin, to say a few words about Mom.
Hi, everybody. I thought that I could talk extemporaneously about Jane forever, but I realized I had only a 3-minute time slot, so I had to cut that down. I love Jean. It was such a pleasure to have her in my life and the lives of our friends at 299. I talked with her friends in the building, and we all agreed she was a charmer. We met Jean when she started visiting Marty and Mary Jo on the 8th floor. She went quickly from being a visitor to being part of the building community. During the summer, as Mary Jo mentioned, we have a get-together in the garden on Fridays, a relaxing end to a long week. Jean was a regular, and it was a treat to sit next to her. She was a natural raconteur, sharing stories about her life, her family's relocation from Arizona, her teaching career, and Tony's academic career. And of course, she talked about her children, sometimes telling us stories that they would probably prefer not to be shared. She was fiercely proud of her grandchildren and supported them in their education and their blossoming talents. Jean enjoyed being part of the crowd. She was a lively participant in our conversations and always had something to add. She listened to the various conversations going on around her and added her 2 cents. When she had something to say, she was always on scope with what was going on in our conversations. Marty and Mary Jo made these parties possible for her, helping her on the stairs and getting her settled, and seeing that she always had some wine and cheese to share with everybody else. I remember a time when Jean was recovering at the new Jewish home, which is close to us on 106th Street. Mary Jo arranged a garden party in the courtyard and invited Jean's friends from the building. We were all delighted to have a chance to be with her in a pretty outdoor setting. Jean always made her preferences known to everyone, whether it was chocolate or Pinot Grigio. She had her favorite waiter at the Apsley, and he brought her favorite dessert, vanilla ice cream.
Oh, chocolate chip mint.
Oh, chocolate
chip mint.
She told me it was vanilla.
3 times a day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Well, Jean had some secrets, didn't she? I said that, she mean. Jean's friends often attended a musicale in Mary Jo and Marty's home, showcasing talented young musicians who had important performances coming up. Jean had her own seat in the front row, enthusiastically supporting musicians. She loved music. Everyone has memories of Jean. I always think of her in the garden, sitting in her favorite chair, lifting a glass of Pinot Grigio.
Having Mom live with us was really a gift. We found out that she actually was really funny. It was my dad that was funny when we were growing up, but she really had a sense of humor. We had a lot of fun playing games, dominoes, poker. And there was a time where when Tara came home from school during COVID, we were all there together. And I'd like to ask Tara to come up. She has her remembrances. You all know who Tara is. She's her granddaughter, my daughter.
It's like a TED Talk now. Okay, well, first of all, thank you for being here today to honor my mom. It means a lot to my family and all of us, and I know she's smiling down on us right now. So we've heard a lot about my mom throughout her time in Pennsylvania and Arizona, a little bit about her time in 299. But my story starts through the lens of a 9-year-old girl when I was the summer of 2007, and my mom put me on a plane alone, and I flew to Slippery Rock to spend a couple days with my grandparents. My mom still questions why she did that when I was so young, and she still talks about it, but those few days were the best part of that summer for me. Mom and I spent the days hiking, picking blueberries, and doing various arts and crafts. I used to call her crafty, not realizing that the sort of connotation with that word, but she kind of liked it. The next year, I went back for a full week alone with my mom and Pop-Up, and this quickly became the highlight of each summer. Sometimes Pop-Up would join us on our adventures, but more often than not, it was just my mom and me. The world was our oyster. Each day, we'd think of something new to do. A crafting project, or a new hike, McConnell's Mill, you know. In the mornings, we'd watch Rachel Ray together, and if I saw a recipe I wanted to try, I'd ask Mom, and then 6 hours later, we'd be working on hand-making potato gnocchi using Rachel's recipe. And I'm not joking, because we made that, and I just know that it was only because she was so generous that, like, why were we making gnocchi from scratch? But it was a good time. As each summer came to an end, my dream was always to live with Mom and Papa permanently. I knew this would never happen, but what I didn't expect was that a version of that dream would come true when Mama moved in with us at 299 Riverside Drive. What started as a winterbird visit each November to March, where Mama stayed with us in the cold months, turned into a full-time living situation during the COVID pandemic. Our family of 4 became a family of 5. Mama quickly became a staple at all of the events and concerts we did. She attended all my concerts and could always be seen sneaking through our kitchen to get her medication during my parties during grad school. And my favorite memory was when I graduated from my master's. I threw a small party. It was one of my smaller ones, but we got an ice cream cake from Ben & Jerry's, and my mom was very excited about that cake. She had a really crazy sweet tooth, especially in her 90s, and she asked for multiple slices, so that was the highlight. She was eating her first slice, and we're all chatting and making a ton of noise, and she kind of looks over, she says, "Can I have another slice?" We're like, oh my God. So, yeah. She would be the first one to greet my friends at the front door, and the last one to wave goodbye. When she first met my boyfriend, Grant, she immediately took a liking to him, and even though I was always the person kind of helping her in and out of the car, she said, no, I want his help, he's very strong. I was like, okay, fine, I've just gotten demoted, but yes. So she quickly latched on to people. It is a special gift to get to know your grandparents. I feel truly grateful to have had Mama in my life for so long, and even more grateful to have had those 5 years. Every morning she'd wake us up with, "Wake up and hear the birdies, tweet, tweet, tweet," and she could not hold a tune, and it would drive you crazy, especially when you were trying to sleep in, because she woke up early. And each night she sent us off to bed with a rendition of "Good night, sweet dreams, tomorrow's another day." Anyways, those were all, she had many songs, and it was every day, like clockwork. You could count on Mama. On that note, I want to thank my parents for taking such good care of Mama, from her time at 299 to her hospital stays and life at the Apsley. There are few nonagenarians, hope I said that right, that live such busy and full lives, and that is all because of your generosity and patience with her. I miss you and love you, Mama, and I'll be seeing you.
We loved having her live with us. And she was pretty easy. Yeah, she wasn't very demanding. She was pretty easy. But I have to say that I really couldn't have done it without the wonderful and generous support from my husband, Marty. Every morning, yeah. No one's allowed to cry. No crying. We've got to save it to the end. Every morning, Marty would get up and make her famous cinnamon toast and coffee. He would make her lunch, and he would sit with her to eat lunch. He would play songs. He would sing to her. And every time he walked in the room, her eyes would brighten up, and she would just be so happy to see Marty, her favorite son-in-law. Marty has some words he'd like to say.
I always said I was the favorite son-in-law, the only son-in-law. We started the program this afternoon with "There'll Never Be Another You," and I thought that was quite appropriate because, not only because Mama was unique, but because Mama made everyone that she came in contact feel unique and special. And I was always struck by the way she would greet people. She would say, "And how are you?" emphasizing you and her genuine interest in all of us. I think most of us here really experience that warmth and love, and that's why we're gathered here to celebrate. I never really thought a time would come when Mama wouldn't be with us, but change is the only constant in life, and the only constant in life is change. For years, Mama was beating the odds. She seemed invincible, and I think that's how we liked it. Her resilience and her strength and her demeanor gave us hope and courage and inspiration. But change is the only constant in life, and in life the only constant is change. And I think that Mama knew that, and accepted it, and even embraced it, while cherishing every moment. She did say more than once, "I'm not going to be here forever." I remember how life-changing it was for our family when Mama moved in with us. She was a calming presence, and we all learned from her how to be just a little bit better than we were before. I can't really speak about her past because I wasn't there, but I can retell stories that she told us over and over, and I have one of our favorite iconic Mama stories that she loved to tell. It goes like this. When Mama was in college, she worked after school at the Arizona Times, supporting the subscription desk. This is a newspaper that was started by Eleanor Roosevelt's daughter, Anna Roosevelt Bottinger. And this was something that Mama was very proud of. She was a lifelong Democrat. She always said, "I'm a strong Democrat." And she also loved the idea that she was working with Eleanor Roosevelt's daughter. Anyway, she was going to Phoenix College and working at the subscription desk, and she had a long commute, and she had to eat out every night during the week. So one Sunday she came home after another long week, finally ready for a home-cooked meal. But she arrived to find out that her mom was intending to take her and her brothers out because they'd been eating at home all week long. Now, as Mama told this story, she said, "I burst into tears because all I wanted was a home-cooked meal." She told the story often, and we always say, "I want a home-cooked meal." And I think it was, it was a way that she shared, in a sense, a parable to remind us of a deeper truth, which is the importance of sitting down together as a family for a meal at home. Because home and family were central to who Mama was. When she came to our home, she was already advanced in years. Even so, she was incredibly open-minded, and I always was amazed by this. She was so accepting of a very different lifestyle in New York and of so many different kinds of people in New York. She was just open, ready, and embracing of everybody. I can't, overstate how deep and meaningful her life was, thanks to all of you. You were so important to Mama, and I think the only time she ever got a little bit upset with me, maybe not a little upset, was when I was late in taking her down to Friday evening happy hour. And I learned the meaning of a venial sin. It's customary to say nice things about people at an event like this, but the truth is there's no need for hyperbole. Mama was everybody's favorite, and the evidence is in the outpouring of texts and emails and calls that we got when she passed. The evidence is also here. Most of us will get a funeral, but how many of us get this kind of celebration? Thank you for being part of it. Change is the only constant in life, and life the only constant in change. Maybe Mama accepted this and embraced it because she knew how much her life rippled out and changed all of our lives for the better.
So in 2020, as we all know, COVID hit, and we were all quarantined in our homes. Tara, Isaac came back from his studies at Eastman School of Music. Tara came back, Mom was there. The five of us hunkered down together. Online school, online this, online that. And Isaac was at Eastman School of Music, and he was taking a composition class. And he wrote a poem called The Matriarch about Mama. And he had to set it to voice and piano. And so we decided we wanted to do it today, but instead of singing, my brother Pat's going to read the poem while I play the piano part. So please enjoy The Matriarch.
The matriarch sits gazing out at the Hudson, watching the ships sail by, recalling the past and her days growing up in Iowa and Pennsylvania. She looks at the flowers that rest on the table in awe of their colors and shapes. Some pink and bright yellow, some brown and maroon. Wilting, they fade away. Wilting, they fade. So many decades of seeing the world and watching things come and go. The flowers, the seasons, the plants, and the people. The matriarch sits gazing out at the Hudson, recalling her days growing up. Calm and serene, like Iowa plains, as she sits gazing out at the Hudson. As she sits gazing out.
By now that Mom embraced everybody and everything, and she did everything with us. She went to every CMC concert that there was. She played games and poker with everybody. She went to the happy hour, and she also went out to dinner with my friends. A lot. And I'm so grateful for how much you embraced her and welcomed her into our little group of friends. We would go to the Ellis Wine Bar, our favorite place, and we'd barely make it through the door, and the owners would be going, "The Pinot Grigio lady!" And there would be a glass of Pinot Grigio on the table before we even sat down. So oh yes, I want to just mention a few other things. She would come to New York. She had her granddaughter Gina and her family of 3 boys, and they would go down to Riverside Park and have dinner and lunch and all that kind of stuff. And she loved my piano students. She loved little Marty over there. She always said, "Why are you calling him little Marty? He's like 30 years old." But because he was little Marty at one point. And she would listen to my piano students through the wall. She'd be sitting there watching TV, but she was actually listening. So she would run out and congratulate them if they played well, and if they didn't, she would make a comment at dinner about how they kind of needed to practice more. The in-house critic. Anyway, I would like to invite Beverly, Michael, and Julian for more remembrances about Mama.
So we first met Jean during her various visits to New York as an enthusiastic audience member at a lot of Mary Jo's music events. But it was actually many years before we learned that her name was Jean and not just Mama. Later, we got to know Jean better as a member of our regular COVID pod, which would spend long hours in Riverside Park, watching the sunsets, sipping wine and laughing and talking about everything under the sun. There are a couple of things I remember that we learned at these gatherings. Jean always amazed us with her extraordinary stamina for late night socializing, not to mention her very impressive stair climbing skills. If you know the stairs at Riverside Park, you know what I'm talking about. And on the rare occasion when she couldn't make it up the stairs, before she had her walker wheelchair, Ben, who's a member of our pod, carried her up the stairs and she would be grinning from ear to ear. Another memory that I will never forget is during lockdown when we would ring in the new year outside on what had to be one of the coldest winters ever. We have pictures of us out there. We look like, I don't know.
The hobos standing around singing.
The fire in the garbage can kind of thing.
The garbage can playing. That's great.
After lockdown, she became well known in our neighborhood restaurants and at local happenings, and we were very fortunate to get to know her during these past several years. As Tara mentioned, before turning in for the night, Jean used to sing her signature goodnight song from the 1944 film Hollywood Canteen. The song was actually nominated for an Academy Award. It didn't win. And oddly enough, it was later sung by Bugs Bunny in the 1946 Looney Tunes classic, Hair Raising Hair. The song goes, "Good night, sweet dreams. Tomorrow's another day. Good night, sleep tight. I'll see you along the way, in dreams. Sweet dreams, Jean."
And that was Julian, their son is. the name wasn't in the program, so I just wanted to say that. Leave it up to Beverly. I have no idea that this was even a song, let alone that it was a Bugs Bunny song. She always does all the great research around here. One of my oldest and dearest friends is Alan Moverman. Alan has known Mom even longer than Marty has. And I'd like to invite him up for a few words and performance.
Well, I hadn't expected to speak. I was just going to play, but this piece I'm going to play is a single petal of a rose, and it was dedicated to Queen Elizabeth. And Jean definitely had a personality of a queen, I would say. She was very regal, and she held court, I think, and she was just wonderful to all of us. I know Mary Jo would probably want me to tell the story about Jean of when I was too lazy to go to my doctoral graduation ceremony. And she said, "Are you kidding me? You've got to go to your graduation ceremony. How could you think of that?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll go." But in later years, I think she was convinced that I wouldn't have gotten my doctorate. So she felt kind of personally responsible, as Mary Jo will attest. And also all the wonderful evenings down at the river with Jean and Mary Jo, Marty, Beverly, Michael, Julian, Tara, Isaac. It was just really a wonderful experience, especially, I guess, during COVID. At least that was when I got involved in it. And I guess Jean's Pinot Grigio turned into non-alcoholic Pinot Grigio without her knowing. So anyway, I thought I'd play this Duke Ellington transcription of a Duke Ellington solo, Single Petal of a Rose. Very beautiful and dedicated to Queen Elizabeth.
you, Alan. It's beautiful. And yes, it's a true story. She didn't think he got his doctorate because she told him to go to the graduation. You know, it seemed like Mom had 9 lives, more than a cat, because every time something happened, she would recover, just go on, and it was pretty amazing. She first fell and broke her one leg, went to rehab, came back, zipping around on her little, walker thing. She had another one, fell another time, and it was during this time that she had the stroke. And the stroke was really difficult because that put her in a category that we were not sure she was going to make it. And so we all gathered around. She was in ICU. We weren't sure what was going to happen. But Isaac was actually in Germany at the time at the Schleswig-Holstein Festival, and that week was going to perform the Swan, the famous tune, The Swan, from Camille Saint-Saëns, Carnival of the Animals, with the most famous pianist in the world, Lang Lang. And he was playing in multiple arenas for thousands of people, and I thought, Mom, please make it through, because I didn't want to tell him, because I didn't want to derail his focus. Luckily, she made it through, and then we told him. But in the meantime, we'd had kind of a bootleg recording of him playing the Swan with Lang Lang. And Tara and I would hold it up to her ear as she was in ICU and not really responding, but we would hold it up to her ear, and she'd listen to the Swan, and Tara and I would hold hands and pray and hope that Mom would pull through. And so, we're going to play the Swan for you tonight. In 2021, CMC had a virtual gala, and one of the things we performed on there was a piece called Peace, P-E-A-C-E, written by Jessie Montgomery. And Pascal Archer, our clarinet teacher at CMC, and I performed it, and we were rehearsing it. And after one of our rehearsals, my mother comes running out of her room, where of course she was listening on the other side of the wall, and said, "That was the most beautiful thing. It's so calming. It's so beautiful. Thank you so much." And she loved this work. So we wanted to play it for you tonight, but first I wanted to read a little bit from Jessie Montgomery, who was actually one of my chamber music students many years ago. She wrote this program notes for the piece that she wrote. Written just a month after the great sadness of the first quarantine orders due to COVID-19, facing the shock felt by the whole globe, as well as personal crisis, I find myself struggling to find what actually brings me joy. And I'm at a stage of making peace with sadness as it comes and goes like any other emotion. I'm learning to observe sadness for the first time, not as a negative emotion, but as a necessary dynamic to the human experience. Tara and I would like to play Peace for you. piece of the program. It's titled "A Mom for Everyone" because she was a mom for everyone. So many people called her mom, particularly Sheila, who was the little girl that lived across the street in Slippery Rock. She called her mom her whole life. And so did the care managers at the AFSLI, the assisted living place she lived at. All the care managers called her Mama, my mama. Everybody else had a name, but Jane had Mama, my mama. She was mom to my friends growing up. She was mom to my brother's friends, my daughter's friends. And so, in conclusion, we would like to give a toast to my mother. We have our two helpers over here. We have Pinot Grigio for everyone, and we also have NA wine if you don't drink. Just a little NA over there. Raise your hand if you need NA. Yeah, there's 3 people. And then the rest of you get the Pinot Grigio for Mom. Let's raise our hands and toast to Jean Pagano. Wait, do that again. Do that again. Let me get in here. Okay, now we can drink. And we want you all to sing along with wonderful words. The words are on the back of the program.
Red roses too.
Come on, everyone.
I watch them fall in you, and I say to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue, clouds of white, bright blessed day, darkness bright, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, also the faces of the people going by, and I see friends shaking hands. They say, I believe you. They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, and I watch them grow. They're very much more than I know, and I see myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I say to myself, what a wonderful world. Thank you all for coming and sharing this time with us. Lots of food and drink in the back. Please enjoy.